Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2015, Knock Knock. Without any further, let's get started. The film opens on Father's Day. Evan Weber and his wife Karen are playing in bed when their children, Jake and Lisa, come in with a cake for Evan. In order to have an intimate relationship with Karen, he sends his children out and plays with them like monsters. Karen, however, is worried about an exhibition that will showcase her artwork soon, as well as getting ready to take the kids on a beach trip that Evan would have attended if he hadn't been sidelined by work and a shoulder ailment. Evan is an architect, while Karen is a successful artist. Karen. When assistant Louis comes to view the sculpture that Karen created, it isn't yet dry. He will come back to pick it up when it is, and we will then transport it to the gallery. Later, Evan bids Karen and the children farewell, leaving him alone himself with their dog, Monkey, and a ton of labor for a home improvement project. That evening, as the rain continued to pour, Evan heard a tap at the door and went to answer it to discover the stunning women, Belle and Genesis, completely so.
Looks like everyone's gone.
Genesis claims that while they went to a party, she left her phone at home and that Belle got hers wet. Evan asks them to come inside so they can dry off and use the computer to locate the place for the party. Evan calls them an Uber, even though it will take 45 minutes to arrive, while attempting to use rice to dry the wet phone. After that, he gives the women robes to wear and lets them dry their clothes.
Gracias.
Excuse me.
While they wait for the Uber and their clothes, the women look at Evan's vinyl record collection and Karen's artwork. Evan claims to have been a DJ in the past, and the women discuss their flight attendants. They begin discussing their private lives, including the kinds of guys they have slept with and the fundamental human need for physical closeness.
Sex with boundaries isn't really.
Belle, in particular, seems to start approaching Evan, but when he sees the Uber is there, he goes ahead to get their clothes and phone. The women sneak into the restroom, and when Evan calls them, he discovers that they are both nude and extending an invitation to join them. Despite his best efforts to push them away, the women begin to approach Evan, and he eventually gives in. When no one returns his calls, the Uber driver leaves, and they take it to the bedroom where Evan is having a threesome. The following day, Evan wakes up in bed by himself and texts his wife back right away. So he puts his wedding band back on, gets dressed, and checks the house. When he believes the ladies have left, he hears them laughing and creating a mess in the kitchen. He sees Genesis preparing pancakes and giving it to him as he enters. Infuriated by their actions, Evan offers to drive them home or somewhere else they like. The ladies laugh at him, so he gets even angrier, realizing that he has a small problem on his hands. Abruptly, his wife calls on FaceTime, and he dashes outdoors to answer.
Hey, babe.
Evan informs her that he passed out after smoking too much marijuana. Karen labels him a lightweight and starts talking to him about the children. Noting that everything is going fine, other from Jake getting stung by a jellyfish. Behind him, the two women emerge through the glass door, and he walks out of her line of sight and informs her about his job project, claiming to be in the middle of a great groove and to be finished shortly.
Great.
Okay, then
The women keep teasing him through the glass doors, and when Karen sees that he's distracted, they cut the call off. Acknowledging that he will struggle to get rid of the women, he enters the house and yells and swears at them.
Get the fuck out.
When Evan instructs them to get up and dress, the ladies rush into the other room, and when he goes to retrieve them, he only finds Genesis before searching for Belle. In his wardrobe, he discovers her wearing his shirt. She asks him to hold her and throws herself on him, declaring her love for him. After bringing her back to Genesis and giving them 3 minutes to get dressed, Evan waits for them outside.
Get dressed!
As he finishes a cigarette and returns inside to retrieve them, he sees them both damaging Karen's sculpture with sketches of genitalia. After becoming enraged and throwing Genesis over the sculpture, Evan takes the pen out of Belle's hands and asks if they know what they did. When Evan begins to call the police, Genesis responds that she will inform them that he committed statutory assault, stating that both she and Belle are 15 years old.
20 years behind bars.
Even though he doesn't believe them, he knows no one would believe him, so he complies. When Evan gives them money because he doesn't know what they want, the women become enraged and treat them like escorts, and Belle smacks him. When the doorbell rings, Evan tells them to remain still and goes to answer it, only to see his physical therapist, Vivian, standing there. Vivian starts talking right away and Evan tells her that he feels much better and doesn't need any more therapy. The woman continues chatting non-stop until Genesis shows up and wraps her arms around Evan, alerting Vivian to the situation. Then Evan orders her to go back inside. Vivian is really sad because she loves his wife so much. He says it's not what she thinks, but she just keeps walking in disgust, saying it's exactly what she thinks. When Evan gets back inside and finds the women fiddling with his turntable, he pushes Belle away from the table and tries to eject them both.
Get out of my house!
However, the women keep interfering with him, and when Genesis keeps making fun of him, Evan becomes enraged and snatches her by the throat. She gets scared and grabs a statue to strike him over the head. If Belle has to defend her companion from Evan's constant taunting, he lets her go and dials 911 to report a break-in. But before he can say anything further, Genesis cuts the call short and requests that he take them home. After they all leave the house, he leads them to a house that they say they reside in. He then drives away, and the women enter a playground. Evan starts cleaning as soon as he gets home, first cleaning the bathroom and kitchen before attempting to clean his wife's sculpture. When he takes a medication that evening, he believes that everything is finished and that he has escaped the situation unharmed. Evan returns to work on his project. When he hears glass shattering in another part of the house, he investigates the disturbance, but initially finds nothing. When he walks into the living room and finds one of his family portraits broken on the floor, while he is squatting to pick it up, Genesis hits him over the head with one of his wife's sculptures. Evan wakes up strapped to the bed while Genesis is humming and putting on lipstick. He begs her to let him free. While he says he's just a good person who made a mistake, she just goes on with her activities. All of a sudden, Belle shows up dressed as his daughter, down to the panties.
That's my daughter's. You take that off!
When Evan loses his temper and insists that she take them off, calling her a crazy person, Belle agrees, throwing the panties in his face and dancing around him while claiming that every girl's father is her first love. Belle continues her antics despite Evan's reprimands that she's disturbed. He begs her to untie him, but she just sits on top of him, exposing some of her deeply rooted father issues and difficult upbringing.
Why did you do that to me?
Simultaneously, Genesis inscribes it was not a dream. On the mirror, Belle begins to strike Evan, associating him with her own father, as though he were the one who harmed her during her childhood. His phone rings abruptly, and they both grab it. When they see it's Karen on FaceTime, they get ready to respond and threaten to unzip his pants in order to answer the call. He begs them not to and assures Belle that she will get what she wants.
Before? How about covering your lips?
Belle jumps on him out of a desire to have sex, as Genesis records it on his phone, then leaves the room. He breaks free from his bindings, pushes Belle to the ground, and gets up to pursue her. When Evan discovers that Genesis is eating a cake, he grabs her by the neck, but she, pinning Evan down, does so by thrusting her fork into his shoulder and twisting it around in the wound. Therefore, when Belle arrives, she tells him that since he hit her, and they will have to discipline him. Evan lost consciousness as a result of the trauma. The women strap Evan to a chair with an electrical cord and place headphones on him, as part of their bizarre game show torture. If Evan responds to a question with an answer that Genesis finds unacceptable, she plays a loud, deafening sound in Evan's ears.
This is fucking...
Evan is unsure about how to react when Genesis asks him a question, but before he gets punished, Louis saves him by showing up at the door and bringing his keys so he may retrieve Karen's sculpture. Genesis pretends to be Evan's niece with Belle as her friend to make a music video. When Genesis flirts with him, unfortunately her charm fails to work on him, and he sees right through them. After confronting the women, Louis hears Evan making noise and rushes to assist him. After removing Evan's gag, when he hears more noise, he rushes outside. The women are smashing the sculpture, which horrifies him and makes him have an asthma attack. Genesis has as his inhaler, and they throw it back and forth while Louis tries to catch it, but he slips and hits his head on the sculpture's base, killing himself. The women started laughing and ignored Evan's request to help Louis and call an ambulance. The women wrap Lou's body in paper and hide him away. They want to have Evan put to death at dawn. They mock Evan by using a monster voice, just like he did with his children, indicating that they were monitoring him all along. As they carry on with their game show, Evan eventually loses it and wants to know what they stand to gain from attempting to murder him when they catch him.
Double bap! What's up at my fucking door?
The women then proceed to demolish Karen's sculptures and discover a concealed gun. After Evan escapes the house, he trips outside and is apprehended by Genesis. When morning shows up, the women prepare to execute Evan by tying him up once more and burying him up to his neck in a hole.
Close your eyes, baby.
Genesis reaches for a tiny sculpture and is about to murder Evan with it, but she laughs and throws it down beside him. The women disclose that the entire experience was a part of a game they enjoy playing in which they deceive married men into having sex with them, in an attempt to find a man who can refuse them. Although no one ever has, Belle claims that Evan was her favorite. They also disclose that they are not minors. Before leaving, Genesis hands Evan his phone and shows that they posted the video of him having sex with Belle to Facebook. After the women have left the house in disarray, Evan takes his hand off the ground to delete the video, which is already getting hateful comments, but he inadvertently hits like rather than delete. In the closing scene, Karen and the children return home to discover the house in disarray and her sculptures and family photos covered in offensive and unsightly designs. Jake simply believes his dad attended a party.
Daddy had a party.
Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.